Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, your home for gains and brains, and we've got a fun one today, kids. Somebody asked me the other day if I was going to make any dating videos. Haven't done one of those kind of directly in a while, and sure enough, this video popped up in my feed. Dr. Mike Israetel has a second channel I see where he talks about, I guess, whatever he wants. And it is cuffing season. We're about to be in the thick of it.
Girl, you're thicker than a bowl of oatmeal.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's are coming up. I'm sure you're going to be asked by your family, yet again, why don't you have a girlfriend? To which you reply, hypertrophy? But don't fear, because Mike is here to teach us how to talk to girls. And he doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's been with a lot of women. I'm not sure if he even wants to, given all of the gay, quote-unquote, jokes that he makes in pretty much every piece of content he puts out. It's okay, Mike, you can come out of the closet. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. We're gonna see if there's any decent advice here, or if it's over for Mike Israetel.
Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Today's video is to ask the question of, is just be yourself good advice to apply to talking to girls that you might like?
Very common trope. Just be yourself. Just be confident. That type of stuff gets roasted by the young guys now.
Or if you're a girl, you might have heard this advice when talking to guys.
Do girls really need advice talking to guys? Maybe nowadays, given the fact that so many people are socially inept, just broadly speaking, but as a woman, you kind of just exist and guys will talk to you. And some women will be like, oh, no guy ever talks to me. That's not true. The guys that you really want might not be talking to you.
But that's less common because I think most people who are of age know that sort of 90% of the thing it takes to be a girl to attract guys is just how you look.
Yeah, he's right about that.
Just the frank, God honest truth meant with no value judgments whatsoever.
I appreciate the honesty there, Mike.
The guys, it works a little bit differently. And the thing about this advice of, well, just be yourself, is that it's almost always very well meant and has massive grains of truth to it.
Mike's always talking about the grains of truth. Whole grains.
It isn't the best advice. And in the sense of like, does it help you succeed connecting with folks on an attraction level? A more nuanced look can reveal how to modify this advice slightly to enhance the effect even more. Got to do a quick review of how attraction works.
I am very interested to see how this goes, because Mike is the kind of guy, kind of toes the line of being like politically correct. I've heard him use the term bitch and bitches when talking about women. He'll kind of push the envelope a little bit. So far, though, he did acknowledge that there are differences, which, I mean, getting people, especially somebody of his stature, to admit that, that's kind of rare in its own right, so I'd say we're off to at least a decent start.
When males are attracted to females, it's usually, though not wholly, purely physical initial attraction that matters the most.
Oftentimes, the same goes for women to men. There's other elements too. I'd say social status is the biggest one. If you're a guy with a lot of status, women will just gravitate to you. But baseline level for anybody, it's looks, because what else could you possibly be going off of? Maybe in some cases money, if the guy is clearly flaunting a big yacht or a big mansion or something like that. But looks, money, status, you know, people get upset about that, but it is what it is.
Face, teeth, mouth, eyes, body, hair, that sort of thing. And it's completely subconscious. You don't have to point out anything you like about a girl. As a matter of fact, when you do like a girl or are attracted, a lot of times you have to review the subconscious processing, the feeling of attraction, and be like, why do I like her? Your body's be like, why you like that girl? And you're like, it's just a sensation you get. So it all happens really, really, really quickly.
I can tell you why I like her. She's got a cute face and a fat ass.
The looks are a big deal. Now, personality and social vibe play a role for guys being attracted to girls, but a highly secondary one. I would say those vibes and personality, social interaction things play a much bigger role for girls ascending in their attraction from you're a person I want to hook up with to you're a person I'm already hooking up with, will you be my girlfriend? A perennial problem that very physically attractive girls that may not have focused on their deeper qualities run into is it's no problem for them to take any guy home from the bar they want, but they'll complain like, nobody wants to date me, like I'm just like a hookup buddy and everyone always abandons me. And it's like, yeah, Stacy, that's because they ain't none to you, bitch.
There he goes. He said bitch. Okay, Mike. What he just referred to is essentially the girl that gets passed around. She gets pumped and dumped. She's a fling. She's a friends with benefits to whatever guys. Patrice O'Neal talked about this years ago. Women don't need a personality. Women don't have to be funny or charming or anything. They just exist and they look good and guys will just talk to them and buy them things and take them places, whatever it's going to be, right? So that's one aspect of it. Some of these women don't have much of a personality. Plenty of guys have no personality either, by the way. Beyond that too, a lot of these girls, it becomes kind of obvious. As you get more experienced, you can kind of tell the signs of a hoe. You can't always say with 100% certainty, but general signs, like if she's covered in tattoos, just the way she talks to you, if she comes on very strong, if she's very sexual immediately, you're not the first guy she's done that with. I promise you. I know as a young guy, especially the first time that happens to you, you get a girl that comes on very strong and you're like, oh yeah, I'm the man. I'm that guy. You're gonna learn, my boy. Don't worry. And if she's always going out drinking, partying, stuff like that, I'd say those are, in general, the big ones. And of course, there's social media too.
Then you definitely, if you want to attract as many guys as possible of the highest quality, you got to take, optimize your physical appearance and presentation.
Also known as looksmaxxing.
Right up front, it's pretty much almost all physical. However, with females, it's really not even in reverse, but the psychosocial is right up front as a guy, what you're number one being judged on.
Psychosocial is a great Slipknot song. Check out my gym playlist. It's all metal music. Maybe I'll make another one of different genres, but the metal one is pure heat. It's in my community tab.
The physical stuff is way more minor. Girls generally look for you to be taller than average, though if you have enough rizz, that also doesn't fucking matter.
Oh, okay, this is getting interesting now. He basically just said looks are sort of not really that important. You can charisma your way out of being short. Okay, the black pillars are gonna start swarming on this right now.
And they're generally looking for you to look not like Harry Potter aged, like a man in some capacity.
That's true if you are a guy that's in your 20s or beyond. Younger dudes, the young girls, some of you guys are like in middle school and high school, they might go for like the K-pop pretty boy, effeminate young look.
Just take up some space and you're damn near 80% of the way with girls. And if you have a super awesome fit body, that definitely helps, but it's just helping a little. Whereas how you interact psychosocially with girls is really front and center. Why do I make a fine point of this?
Okay, I think he downplayed looks there too much. As I've talked about before though, looks are the front door. That's the entrance. Once your foot is in the door, then the psychosocial and all this other stuff, that's when it becomes more important. Because you can have guys that are good looking, and the girl will hook up with them for one night. Well, here's another thing too, performance in bed. That's a big one a lot of young guys are terrible at. I've been there, I get it, you just don't have a lot of experience yet. A girl could be all into you and then you last 35 seconds, and you're like, I'm gonna see her next weekend. Yeah, probably not.
A lot of guys have a guy's theory of mind and be able to make a reasonable estimate, or at least have a gut feeling about what are they thinking.
Mike's just burping on here.
The trouble is when guys bring that into relations with trying to attract girls, they think about becoming attractive to girls like they think they would want a girl to be attracted to them. Like, well, what would I do in this scenario?
That's called the male gaze.
If there's a super hot girl that you're trying to hit on and her interactive style is a bit weird, you don't give a fuck. You're on the same game anyway. Who gives a shit? Because you're trying to get that you-know-what. And it doesn't really matter how they act. Now, if she's trying to become your girlfriend, that shit matters, but nobody thinks about it that way as a guy, or very few people.
All right, he's still kind of downplaying the looks thing. Mike is an older guy. I think he's in his early 40s. He looks older than that. There's this pervasive idea, and a lot of the younger guys now especially push back against this, but it's like, oh, you can be average looking or even below average or below average height, but if you just have the rizz, if you just have the witty banter, all this other stuff, you can overcome that and pick up whatever hot girl you want. That stuff does matter, absolutely. That said, there are plenty of hot guys that girls will continue to see over and over, even if he lacks those things, just because of how good he looks. So you can't totally write that off and say like, oh, well, that's why there's all these hot guys that struggle with women. If you've got a legitimately so-called hot guy, and that's again from the woman's POV, that's struggling with women, he probably has such major mental blockades, he's doing it to himself. Because there are some guys that are like that, especially the more tradcon dudes. They frame everything from the lens of, like he's talking about a relationship. They just can't accept that they might be able to hook up with a girl here and there, or just as a fling or casual or something like that. If you don't want that, I understand. But a lot of guys, man, especially nowadays, you have to adapt to the environment. A lot of these girls are out here very loose, bro. They're doing the friends with benefits, the flings, the one-night stands. I've had plenty myself. There's this idea that, oh, every girl wants a relationship. Bro, these girls out here are giving away the kitty cat. So many of them. It is cuffing season now, so that's going to simmer down a bit. Wait until next spring. That opens up the doors for hot girl summer. And then the cycle just repeats itself.
So when females are attracted to males, another pattern altogether is followed. First, there's two things here. First, in most cases, females need to become comfortable around you in order for you to be allowed into that realm of attraction.
No, he has that in reverse. If a girl finds you attractive, she's going to feel comfortable around you from the onset. And that can change, by the way. There are some handsome guys that they're going to be so weird and awkward that they can lower that down. And some guys in general are just creepy no matter how good they look. That's certainly a thing. That said, if a girl is very attracted to you, that comfort, it's going to be high from the onset, and she's going to essentially take more risks than she would with a guy that is kind of like on the fence.
And then secondly, they need to become attracted to you.
Like I just said, he has this mixed up. The attraction, viscerally, is the first thing.
Very important that it's two parts. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, there are definitely hookups you can have with girls in which the female is excited about the danger of being around you because you're mysterious and sort of maybe not safe, but it's always a maybe not safe, and at the end of the day, safe. It's hardly ever like she feels actually afraid.
A lot of girls are constantly dating and hooking up with dudes that are so-called dangerous. Okay, drug dealers, convicts, thugs. And it's not like every woman's doing this, of course, before people. He says every woman does that, okay? There's going to be all kind of straw manning and putting words in my mouth in the comments down below, but there is a set of women that are viscerally attracted to those guys. A lot of women, they get like a thrill and like a dopamine hit from the dudes that kind of make them feel unsafe in a way, but because they're attracted to that, they feel safe more so than they feel unsafe. They'll have kids with these guys.
Females, it turns out, tend to require comfort to be built with them for attraction to unfold.
He still has that reverse, man. This premise is not working.
They need to feel safe. And so because females know intuitively that they have something very valuable inside of them, they know that men who are quite unscrupulous will try to access it with consent or without. And women generally highly prefer consent.
Yeah, you'd think so.
They want to screen which men they let in and out, because otherwise they're just random gene selection is fucking stupid. They want the most fit men. They want men that show the kind of qualities that maybe will enhance them sticking around a bit longer and helping raise the children. Again, none of this is conscious, entirely subconscious.
I get what he's saying. He's going through like the long-term relationship husband material. You have to remember though, they will still hook up with the guys, like I just said earlier, that are a bit more dangerous, so-called, if they're attracted to him. And it can be the case that they're so overwhelmingly attracted to that guy, they will, like I said again, have kids with him. I think it's something like 3 out of 10 kids are estimated to be born to a father that is not theirs. So the woman was knocked up by another man on the side behind the husband or boyfriend's back, and then the husband or boyfriend raises the kid. Oftentimes, they never even find out. So logically speaking, you would say, well, why would she do that? Jeopardize the family, and that other guy may just totally disappear. He doesn't have the so-called good guy safe traits. A lot of women innately on like the visceral level, they're not attracted to those traits. Again, women talk about this openly all the time. So don't get mad at me.
Females have an inborn tendency to prefer to feel comfortable and safe before attraction is even an emotion they can experience.
I cannot tell you guys how wrong he is about this.
It's just the same way that guys need to see the girl before they can even like start to generate an attraction in most cases. Like, oh, damn, that's what Betsy looks like. Hell yeah, now I'm feeling some shit down there. Girls need to be feeling safe and comfy with a guy 9 times out of 10.
Not for the basic attraction, Mike. No. If they're going to go long-term with the guy, official boyfriend, husband, something like that, yes. But that's after the initial attraction. This premise, if he sticks with this for long, I mean, that's going to throw this entire video off.
And here's another really, really big one, and this is going to get into the next part of our talk, which is really the meat and potatoes. If girls detect that you're uncomfortable, you're not generating vibes of safety, it might signal that you, the guy, have high neuroticism. It signals to females that you're sweating. You're nervous, and maybe you're nervous, and often you're nervous because you have lost physical or dominance altercations with other males around you in the dominance hierarchy, and thus you are of relatively low status.
Okay, he's on his Jordan Peterson right now. I'll put this in Gen Z terms. You've been mogged before. This is where the whole just be confident thing comes in. If you're a dude and you're always second-guessing yourself and questioning and don't make eye contact with her and you're shy and stuff, yeah, you're gonna lose women over that. But that said, you also cannot fake it till you make it up the hierarchy for very long. Like, you can flash your money and be like, I have all this stuff. You'll get used for your money all day, every day, to your grave. Easily. But at a certain point, man, you spend enough time with a woman, especially in an intimate setting, you can't pretend to be that dude if you're not that dude.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
That is a lot of guys' core problem. You just don't have the experience with women to be that dude. I know that's not a really scientific phrase there, but that's the best way I can put it. This is what a lot of PUAs were doing back in the day. They basically faked, and they would, pick up all these women and get all these phone numbers, all this other stuff. The amount of women that actually went out with them from those numbers they got, remarkably low. A lot of those infield footages that you would see, they were fake. Paid models.
True alpha male, the hell is he sweating anyone for? King gorilla, he doesn't give a fuck. Nothing scares him, unless he feels real safe, unless a woman could kind of feel safe by proxy. Presenting a certain front of yourself that's not the real you, how that fails, and why, at least in part, just be yourself is very good advice.
You want to turn a woman off really quickly? Come off as that dude, whatever you want to say, macho, alpha, you got the rizz, whatever it's going to be, like you're very experienced. You get down to business with her, you're just sitting around the house. Like Mike was saying, you're neurotic, you're weird, you're questioning yourself. She is going to run for the hills, bro. Because what you've essentially done is fooled her. She fell for a trap. You had one persona you presented to get her, then she saw the real you. And internally, she is just vomiting.
If you're fronting, which means just presenting a version of you that's entirely fake, requires a lot of cognitive bandwidth. If you said, hey, talk in a way that Michael Jackson would talk, but just do it to this girl.
You're going to talk like Michael Jackson? Didn't Michael Jackson talk like this?
You can't possibly be ultra fluid and smooth with your conversation if you're trying to be someone you're literally not. That's way more bandwidth, and that's unfortunate.
That is what a lot of, I was going to say young guys, but even older guys do that. I mean, that's a thing that guys who don't have it like that with women, you start to try anything. You know, you'll try crazy outfits, you'll start to adapt the persona of some actor or somebody else. Being, like, wholly confident in yourself and just talking, like, I do that with girls I meet. Guys, I have lost women because I'll be on a first date or my first interaction with them, and they'll say something I disagree with. Most guys will just be like, oh yeah, haha. Dude, I start debating them on the spot. I'll be like, no, that's wrong. I mean, that's stupid. Oh yeah, bro, I'll get into whole 30-minute debates with them. It was going all smooth sailing, and then she'll be like, well, whatever, we're not compatible. That doesn't bother me. But that attitude in of itself, girls like that on the whole. It goes back to what he said about the abundance. If I lose some women, I don't care, bro. Too many guys are deeply, deeply attached to the outcome, so they will change their own perspectives and opinions and how they just generally maneuver and operate to accommodate what the girl says and wants to do and all this other stuff. And if you're in a relationship, you're going to have to compromise in some ways, but guys will completely change everything about themselves, what they want to do, all this other stuff.
If you're sweating King Gorilla out there somewhere, and you're going to try to pretend like you're not sweating him, it's going to take a lot of bandwidth for you to become really stoic at it. And in that case, that starts to look like the woman can tell that you're not being your genuine self. It's very, very difficult to fake it until you make it in the land of attracting females.
Women operate on a plane, like emotionally and just general social awareness. We do not have access to it. As a guy, I mean, you can study it and talk about it, but women have access to, like, a very deep-rooted, they can just sense so many things. And even if you don't realize she's sensing it about you, she is, and then she'll bring it up in an argument 3 months later.
Here's the real big reason why fronting fails. Especially women. To a degree, most men do not have an ability for or access to. Like, check this out. Men are straight up capable of more aggression than females. Top female athletes, their coaches have to talk them up before their matches.
I think a lot of you guys that have been in arguments with women, they can get pretty aggressive.
But there's other stuff that females on average are much better at. And one of those is examining a crapload of subconscious stimuli from the male they're talking to, or really from anyone they're talking to, and intuiting what emotions are being felt and what that person's really thinking and feeling deep down.
Pretty much what I just said.
They're insanely fine-tuned to do this 9 times out of 10. It's not just what you say. It is. It's not just how you say it. It's also that. But it's tones of voice, eye contact patterns.
Beyond even women, man. Whenever I was working, like I would be working at the gym or at Chipotle when I used to do that a number of years ago. I still got to tell you guys how I got fired from Chipotle. Kind of underwhelming story. It might not even really be worth a video. But these young dudes come in, man, and they just stare at the floor. And like, I get it. You're a young guy. You're insecure no matter how much you pretend that you aren't. You got your anime profile picture on Instagram. You go to the gym. You're scared of everything, right? That's just how it is. But these young dudes, man, like, they can't look at anybody in the eye. They give you, like, the limp wrist, dead fish little handshake if you shake their hand. That's just general people. You get them around a girl that they're attracted to, your heart's racing, terrified.
Look at a girl that's hot enough. When you're young enough, this kind of shit affects you a lot. Mm-hmm. Your inner game's not that strong.
Inner game? Dude, was Mike running PUA game back in the day? Inner game? That is a very niche term.
Maintaining eye contact with her is very difficult, and you might want to get your eyes away from her because she's cooking you the entire time she's looking at you.
Oh yeah, man. Dude, you get those eyes darting around, not going to end well.
Even very subtle changes in facial expressions, females are insanely attuned to. That's why they'll get feelings like, oh, that guy was kind of weird. That guy was kind of a creep. Like, that guy's really sweet, but I don't know. I just wasn't attracted to him. That's all that stuff plus body language.
Also attraction, too. That's another thing, right? What's the difference between a guy that's charming and the guy that's a creep? How he looks, right? A lot of people make that joke now. He's not incorrect, but you can't remove all of these things from how she thinks that you look from the foundational level.
How much you're leaning in, how much you're leaning away, how stiff are you, how relaxed are you, and everything in between. Women are like super intelligent AI detectors of all the subconscious processing. The reason they got so good at it through the course of evolution is because lying on only verbal output is easy as fuck. Watch this. I have a 10-inch dick.
Well, that's also the fitness industry, right? Everybody's natural. They just say it. Everyone goes, okay.
If you were just going to believe me everything I said, you would be a mark-ass motherfucker.
Look at Mike, dude. He's got swag. He's using cool slang terms. He's keeping bitches in line.
Like, hey, like, how do I really know that your dick is this big? You and I could have an extended conversation. I would tell you make-believe on-the-fly stories about how condoms don't fit. I would make up stories on the spot about how girls I've been with, they really liked it, but then they discover they have the thing and they try their best. They couldn't do it. No problem.
Speaking from experience here, Mike.
What's much harder is lying convincingly and lying about who you really are deep down inside and keeping all that facial expression and everything shit together and the body language and the voice and the eye contact. It is damn near impossible. Now, some people pull it off.
The people that pull it off in relation to women, those are the so-called players. He told me he loved me and he promised me this and he did this and he did that. And then he cheats on her or he ghosts her, you know, whatever it's going to be. Dude, I was just dealing with a girl. A lot of my, you can't even call these things relationships, right? They last about 2 to 3 months, it seems like. And then me and the girl will pull apart for a number of reasons. Generally, I get something along the lines of, I don't think you take me seriously enough. And I'm like, yes, I do. And she says, no, you don't. And I say, no, maybe I don't.
And females have been ferreting it out for generations because if someone could just lie to you and then you turn out to have children with someone that's a dud and it was actually super low on the hierarchy, he just said, yeah, I'm a king in this other village just a mile down the road. She's like, oh my God, a king. Like, if you don't have king vibes, you ain't getting that shit. And that's very, very well attuned in almost all females.
What he just described there is why women are so hyperfixated on abortion, by the way. Because if they get knocked up by a guy that they realize deceived them, or some other thing happens to where their attraction really drops, they don't want to have his kid. This is another weakness a lot of women have, man. They love words. That's what a lot of, again, the PUA stuff and so-called game, that's what a lot of this stuff is. You're basically coming up with a blueprint to tell women what they want to hear and come off as cool and charming. And in some ways, I mean, it's manipulation in a lot of ways, right? Telling a girl that you love her and all these other things that she wants to hear, but you don't mean it. But you can convey that, and if she is attracted to you too, her guard goes down. A lot of women fall for it.
And it's also really tough to come back from because women will put you in the box of nah. And it's, first of all, they'll put you in there real quick. After like 3 seconds of interacting with you, they're like, this guy's a fucking mark.
Well, 3 seconds or even sooner. I mean, they can look at you,
Or he's fronting, he's fake. The real him is some combination of lower status than he seems to be putting out, / I don't give a shit, because why would he be faking if he was a real fucking top dog? And so they'll put you in that box of nah, and they will leave you in there by default. It's a lot harder to get out of the box than into the box. Scott, I wrote this one for you. I'd love to get in her box, you know what I mean?
Hey-o. I mean, you already kind of made the joke, Mike. You didn't have to say the second part.
I like to be the guy that says like a moderately funny jokes and then elbows everyone. You get it? You get it, Bill? Like, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, that's what you do in all these videos anyway.
There is an illusion behind telling people just be yourself. And that illusion is that the self is an always unified, single feature entity. Trying to act like someone very much unlike yourself is probably a terrible idea in attracting women land. But that doesn't automatically make it just be yourself the best advice. Although it's much better than saying act like someone else, which I've never heard anyone legitimately tell someone outside of a joke.
Well, this is interesting because if you're not being yourself, almost by default, you have to be mimicking or trying to be like someone else in some form, right?
You don't have one completely unified self. Rather, you have a diverse set of qualities and aspects of your personality that are different. Many of them are complementary to one another, which is if you express multiple of these at the same time, it presents a genuine front of like, wow, this is a really cool person who has a cogent personality. But many of them can in fact be contradictory. I can be ultra agreeable on the flip of a switch. It's absolutely my favorite mode. When I'm not on crazy amounts of steroids, it's my default mode.
I mean, basic.
I can also flip the switch, and this is just as much a genuine part of me as anything else, and be ultra skeptical and politely disagreeable.
I think a lot of people would call me disagreeable. I mean, a lot of people think I'm in a permanent state of anger just based on how I talk.
Which mode of action is the real me? It's all of them. And then thus, when people used to tell me when I was younger, just be yourself, I found it to be grotesquely insufficient advice because I'm just like,
Grotesquely insufficient. I like that.
So the way I've learned to understand this is that it's best to see your personality and interaction modes as kind of a Swiss Army knife. Not all tools are for all people and for all occasions. So you can and should absolutely, in social interactions with females, be an aspect of yourself and front that aspect more than others, but just be yourself is at best insufficiently specific for how to act.
Well, that's because a lot of guys, especially dudes heavy into the online fitness scene, they're boring. All you have to talk about is like, did you see the new hypertrophy meta-analysis? Did you see the anime? You see this type of stuff all the time online. Guys are like, well, what do I say to women? I don't know what to say. How do I keep the conversation going? I meet a girl, we'll start talking about the dumbest things you could ever imagine. And you're sitting there like, so what do you do? Where are you from? And even then, those are great icebreaker and little segues in conversation that go into deeper topics and other things. A lot of you guys just... you don't know how to hold or carry a conversation. And most women innately, they're not going to carry the conversation unless they are very, very, very attracted to you. It's going to just sputter out.
Let's take a look really quick at how we can show off some different sides of ourselves depending on the nature of the scenario and the conversation. So emphasizing different aspects for different people. You're going to lean into different aspects of your personality and interactive style depending on who you're talking to. This is not fronting. It is not being fake. I made that part up. Oh God, please still have sex with me. Remember, getting on your knees and crying, if nothing else works, is the surefirest way to get laid. Actually, wear knee pads out to the club.
Well, Mike, I'm sure you do that.
Quite ready for this. And also, there are things that the club knee pads come in handy for.
Yeah, there we go.
First example is how you would typically behave on a job interview. You might lean into being reserved and not initiating the convo. Like when you sit down for a job interview, don't just start fucking talking. You're there, someone else is in charge, and it's not you, it's the interviewer. That's clearly the relationship. So you're there, hands crossed or open and smiling, very calm facial expression, and you're ready to be interacted with because you're there to try to present your best self, but on their time, not on your time. So don't just start blabbing.
When you are doing like pickup, cold approach, you're always talking to women. You have to essentially be the job interviewer. Any guy that has done cold approach pickup even for one night, you know how this goes. You walk up to a girl, you say, hey, and she's like, hi. You're like, so, as soon as you're at that point in the conversation, man, you say so and kind of look down and start thinking, wrap it up.
When asked to brag on your own behalf, like tell me about some of the qualities that make you good for this position, you're going to be truthful, but also eager to show off. Like you want to be like, well, actually, like funny you should ask. I've done this, I did that. I got that degree. I worked at this other job, which worked the same kind of software you guys have. You got to show off about yourself. If a girl was talking to you about like, why should I date you? Like, why should I even be at this date with you? And you're on a first date, you're like, I don't know. That's actually a great response because she's like, oh, this fucking guy.
That is a better response than trying to show off. You do not want to try to show off around women in an overt sense. Not a good idea.
A distinct vibe that you should also have or might also have is an I'm being examined and I'm here for it. Like I'm ready. Like all is clear, all is open. I'm ready for answering questions. I'm under the microscope.
I love doing that with girls, bro. Like I said, I will lose women because of this, but I will grill them on certain things they say. I tell them like, ask me the hard questions too. I'm talking right off the bat. I'm not trying to waste time and sit here and text back and forth endlessly and nothing comes of it. Like, we'll go into the heavy stuff real quick. I prefer it that way. I think that makes for much better conversation than all just the surface level stuff anyway.
Next example of a different kind altogether of interaction is when you're meeting a mentor. When you meet an esteemed personal hero mentor, this would happen verbatim if I ever met like Steven Pinker, for example, the renowned Harvard psychologist. You might ask them like a zillion questions. You might speak about yourself minimally. Like I wouldn't even give Steven Pinker the chance to ask me who I was. I'd just be like, Steven, I'm an unbelievably huge fan of yours. Please don't let me creep you out. Is there anything you want to tell me? Anything at all? Anything that comes out of your mouth? I'm just going to like write down as fast as I can and just please continue to spit wisdom because that's all you do.
Okay, Mike, we get it. You like Steven Pinker. Can we go back to the point?
You won't be taking on the vibe of like, I'm not sweating this guy. Right? Like I'm unaffected. I'm affected by Steven Pinker in real life. I would shit my fucking pants. And that's totally cool because heroes should be revered and he knows he's smart as fuck and people should be asking him questions and like, oh, holy fuck, this is happening.
One of the biggest problems guys face with women, you mentally concoct this image of her and you view her in such high esteem. Like all you've done is seen her, maybe on the internet, maybe in person, especially if it's been in person. But you just see her and you're like, oh my goodness, this goddess. She's so gorgeous, so perfect, her body, her face, her hair. By the time you're talking to her, these dudes essentially look at her as a higher being. And that's how you get the simps. That's how you get the guys that just bow down and they will just compliment these women. They will just message them. Dude, go through any girl's Instagram DMs and comments. They're completely insane. The amount of guys that just constantly fire emojis, eggplant emojis, water spritz emojis, gorgeous, beautiful, all this other stuff, just endlessly saying it. The woman never replies to them at all. These guys will sit there and talk to themselves in these girls' inboxes forever. If you're looking at women as these higher beings than yourself, I've been there as a young guy as well, man. I know how it goes. I was like that whenever I was like 16, 18 years old, before I kind of really saw the light with this. You view women as just, oh my god, she's so perfect and amazing, and what would she even want to do with a guy like me? Not good.
How much would you tell about yourself when you meet Tom Hardy? Arguably nothing, not even your name. Stare just at his traps, and his lower regions.
Yeah, Mike's having a hard time keeping the fantasies in now.
These are two modes, both the you being interviewed mode and the you talking to someone you consider very esteemed and you want to learn from. Very different interactive modes from each other, and still super different from the last mode, which is you interacting with folks you want to attract. What you want to do in that mode, and there's plenty of stuff for you to read on the internet about how to do this, but I'm just going to give you the really sort of short summary because all of this is supposed to talk about like how being the real you is. This is not a masterclass on pickup. I am absolutely unqualified to do that.
I guarantee he is, so I appreciate the honesty, Mike.
You're going to come in with a relaxed abundance mentality. Like, you need nothing. The number one tip I could ever give you for interacting with attractive females is do not sweat these hoes a fucking cent.
He's right about that. That goes back to what I was just saying.
If I don't get that sweetness between your legs, I'll be just as golden before, now, and after as if I do. I don't give a fuck.
That's right. You have to have that mindset. It's essential.
Now, you might actually give a fuck, but remember, there are parts of you that don't give a fuck. Push those to the fore. If you're too eager to please, if you're too eager to boast, if you're too eager to listen and learn and soak up, imagine a girl like talking on a first date to a guy and he's like, oh yeah, oh my God, wow. And then what happened? Oh wow, you handled that really well. That is not the kind of energy that's getting you in the fucking stink anytime soon.
Not in that way he was doing it, but you do want her to be talking a lot. Because listen, man, if women are attracted to you, they will spill their guts to you. Dude, I've talked to women, I just met them, and they're telling me stuff about their family, their friends. I'm getting all kind of, they call it the tea. All this information, they're roasting their friends to me. They're telling me about their cousin did this, their brother did this, their sister did that. Oh, she's a hoe doing this over here. Bro, they will tell you all kinds of stuff. Dude, just sit there and let women talk, bro. They don't stop talking. Now, that said, don't just sit there and mindlessly agree with her like he was just demonstrating. Like, give her some pushback, add your commentary, tell her what you think as well. But if she's into you, man, she's gonna yap and yap and yap. They don't stop yapping.
You're just there to have a good time, number one, with yourself. I'm all I fucking need to have a good time. I bring the good times with me anywhere I go. I don't give a shit if other people are in, and if they're in, amazing, let's have a good time together. If they're not, no big deal. I'm still having a fucking good time. And whoever you're in the convo with, it'll be a chill vibe, and here's the important part, with no distinct objective.
We'll let him expand on this. I get what he means, but at a certain point, you do need to make your intentions known. If they're not known, which, at a certain point as a man, you establish a vibe that you want to smash. It's kind of unspoken. Young guys don't understand this, though. So that's how, as a young guy, you end up talking to women just in circles, and then you just end up being text buddies. That's how you end up in the friend zone a lot of the time. You're like, oh, we talk a lot. And then it's like, wait a minute. She doesn't want to date me. And then you have to muster up the courage, and then she goes, oh, well, I don't see you that way, all this other stuff.
There is no objective. But, Mike, you're trying to attract a girl? No, I'm not. Attraction is her fucking problem. If she wants to be attracted to me, to be honest, it's a fucking liability because I'm a goddamn scumbag. If I'm interested in attracting a girl, I don't try at all. There's no trying. All that shit is subconscious anyway. I'm just here to have a good time. And if you want to show me some signs that you're attracted, you better show me clearly because I ain't even looking at you that much.
Okay, I love this persona Mike has, like he's this Mac daddy or something. He's right about that. Attraction is the women's field. Okay, this is what these old heads and these game guys and all this stuff, they can't accept this because they have this mental idea that the guy's always in control. I walk up to the bitches I want to walk up to, and I hit on her, I pulled her, and I did this, and I got that. Dude, the women are the gatekeepers. They're the ones that do the choosing. Even if the guy comes up and says his lines and does this and that, bro, unless you're going to commit crimes, if you catch my drift, without consent, the woman has to accept you. What does that really mean? Is she's choosing you. If she doesn't choose you and open the gates, what are you going to do? But that's why attraction is so funny, and that's why the PUA thing, it got really popular like 10, 15 years ago, and now it's basically dead because everybody is sick of it and has seen through it at this point. But if the attraction's not there, first of all from the looks, and then second of all just from the general like vibe, which is hard to define, I know, but it is what it is, it's over. There's nothing you can do beyond take out your wallet at that point.
A cool way to imagine this, kind of as a sort of thought experiment, is you are a trillionaire and you just got done having painful dust coming out of your dick nut.
Oh, God.
With the 19th ultra elite Italian model that day. And then wherever the hell you find yourself talking to a girl that you think is cute, you show up like that. You're just like, oh, shit. And she's like, hi. And you're like,
That's why you'll often hear guys say that you should jerk off before a date. You kind of get that evil out of you. You kind of just lower the urge. And I understand that. I've done it myself. I mean, once you get to a certain point as a guy, you don't have to do that. Like, you kind of get to this state generally, because you've dealt with a lot of women. You know there's always going to be some nonsense. You're kind of just like, if it doesn't work, whatever, I'll find another one. I can go jerk off. But young dudes and guys that don't get a lot of women especially, they're very attached to the outcome of, I have to get her, and then they will make a fool of themselves trying to facilitate that even when it's clearly not going to happen.
You have to be free from want, because alpha, high status males, they already got it all. They don't want anything. When you don't want anything, they just sniff that out real quick. And they like that sort of thing, which is kind of contradictory, but you get the evolutionary logic.
But they want a guy that cares about them. Not only that, they want a guy that throws rose petals at their feet and worships the ground they walk on. This is why women are always struggling with this stuff, man. They want two things that just don't work at the same time. They want a guy who's like this stoic alpha, then, with her, he becomes this, goddess, you're so perfect and amazing. There's a general subset of guys you're going to get one of those things from, and then a general subset you're going to get the other from. Very small chance you're going to get absolute both in one single guy.
The want to put your best foot forward, the want to learn about them as much as possible, that shit does not apply. Not in the initial attraction phase. Later on date number 7 or some shit like that.
No, man, I mean, I ask girls about themselves on a variety of topics. You don't have to push this off.
If you come in ultra relaxed with no wants and needs and just have some BS and let the convo flow, always staying centered and chill, good things are much more likely to happen. When you're not trying with females, that's when all the good stuff happens.
Well, he said have some BS, which implies that it's made up or lying. Fronting, as we were just talking about. Whatever you're talking about, whatever you have to say, you just have to say it with your chest, man. You have to just say it. This is what I think, this is what I mean, this is what I do. But also don't be afraid to ask her about details of her life. And some of those so-called interview questions that guys are like, the interview mode, it's terrible. In a way it can be if she's giving you very bad answers, like one-word answers, like good, yeah, uh-huh. In the realm of messaging, you'll hear dry texting. Like you just get one-line responses over and over. That's not good. But it's the same in person. If you're talking to a girl and she's giving you almost nothing to work with, there's a reason for that. She wants you to leave.
All 3 of the examples I just cited, interview, meeting a mentor, and talking to an attractive girl, there really are the real you. The girls at school, in my grade or a grade below me or whatever, I felt huge pressure, completely subconsciously, by the way. Well, unfortunately, I was very conscious of it. The genesis was subconscious, because they were folks that I saw as attraction opportunities.
Whenever you're in that mindset, really it's kind of just thirsty. And like I was talking about earlier, that outcome-dependent mentality, you get so wrapped up in your own thoughts, and you essentially psych yourself out. Like, if you could just calm down, you could just probably talk to this girl normally, and it might be kind of awkward. Like, meeting new people is always awkward, at least for the first 5 to 10 seconds. That's just how it goes. Even as you get older, less so the older that you get, because people are just like, hey, how's it going? But especially as, a teenager, man, oh my god, every new interaction you have, it's, earth-shattering. You're just so terrified. You are in this constant fear of being judged. And especially when you're talking to a girl and you know that she's judging you, especially in a romantic and intimate setting, the judgment's only cranked up that much more. Yeah, you're gonna be a complete goofball. But that's part of being a guy. You just have to learn and take your lumps and get through it. A lot of guys now, they're so scared to approach, they don't take these lumps. Then they become into their mid-20s, 30 or beyond, and they've never really been, truly rejected, even once or twice. They've never kind of put themselves out there. They have never taken the risk, basically. You get to an older age and you've never done that, bad outcome.
And that pressure made the interactions very, very awkward and unpleasant for me and them. And we both felt that it was awkward and unpleasant and knew that it was awkward and unpleasant as it was happening.
The thing is, man, you can have the same interview style questions, but the interaction can be flawless. I mean, completely smooth. She's laughing, you're charming, all this other stuff. Same interview questions. Oh, where are you from? What do you do? What do you like about this? Oh, your favorite band, whatever. It can be the same exact questions, but because the vibe is off, you have L rizz instead of W rizz. Totally different interaction and outcome. That's the thing with charisma, though. A lot of people would say you can't teach it, and I can understand that. But a lot of the time, I think it's just getting past your insecurities and that awkwardness. I think more people have more personality than they realize. It's just kind of buried underneath all of these personas people put on under the ego.
So I treated these interactions as a kind of like once in a lifetime shot at $1 million a year job interview, or a meeting someone super important. You want to ask a ton of questions of them. And that was the wrong aspect of my personality to front.
Right. That's what happens whenever you pedestalize women. You view them as a celebrity, as a goddess, as this being that exists on a different plane than you. It's hard to overcome that as a young guy, especially with no experience. And oftentimes as a younger guy too, unless you just come from like a really loose culture. Usually you're going to find one girl in school, or maybe in the neighborhood, and you're going to have just a huge crush on her. Then you're going to look back on it years later, it's like, why was I so obsessed with this one girl?
My family and my friends and my sister's friends, they all told me if they found out that I, all trouble with girls or whatever, they would say, just be the real you. You're hilarious. And it never fucking worked because I was not aware that I had multiple aspects of myself and I would just subconsciously lean into the way wrong ones.
Like I was saying, he's kind of framing it as different aspects of the personality. It's aspects of your ego. Because you may be kind of funny and you can be more social, but once you have the woman on the pedestal and you feel threatened by her, you just put yourself in this box of like, oh, I can't offend her. I have to say the perfect thing. I have to placate her and all these other things. And then you become just weird and shy.
I wish I knew this shit earlier. Now I'm retired from the game because I got old wifey. Yes, it's totally cool and ideal to be yourself. But there are parts and aspects of you want to front the chill vibes part when you're trying to be attractive to the ladies. And the real thing is to mindfuck yourself enough into being like, I'm not even trying to be attractive to the ladies.
You don't have to mindfuck yourself into doing that. Well, that's also faking it till you make it. It's getting experience, guys. Like, here's an example in lifting context. That's basically like saying, oh, well, just visualize yourself or mentally convince yourself that you're shredded if you're not. And you can go in the mirror and flex really hard and use Lightroom and Photoshop and the downlighting, all this stuff, and make yourself look pretty lean. But if you're not lean like that, you get on a stage, you're not going to be lean like that, right? So the only way you can really get that level of abundance mindset, comfort, all this other stuff with girls, to not be that attached to the outcome, you just need to have more experience with girls, man.
When I was in high school, I was so academically serious that I was just busy like being serious and learning and doing work. And I'd have girls be like, hey, like, I think you're hot. And I'm like, thank you. And I would just go back to taking notes.
True Sigma male. And if you want more of my thoughts on the so-called Sigma male, you can click on the video in the top right. Or maybe they list it below this video if you're on mobile versus desktop. You'll find it.
So that's the first number one reason that just be yourself isn't the best advice in the world, because there are multiple aspects of yourself, and based on the situation, you want to front those aspects. The second, much quicker reason that you just be yourself isn't the best standalone advice is that you can improve yourself over time. You're not the same person over time.
The only time is now, as John Cena taught us years ago. But if you talk to a girl even last month and now you're talking to her again or a different one, all we have is now. So it's not like you're carrying your past self that was not improved with you. Well, I guess in a way you can carry your past demons, if you want to call it that. That's why all these people are obsessed with the gym so much, fighting demons in there. But from that perspective, I do understand it, because you have a lot of guys who might have been ugly when they were younger or socially awkward, etc. And now they're older, but now they're in shape, they've got money, they have just the visual things that are going to be attractive to women, but they still may see themselves as the guy in the past, the weird, awkward, skinny, fat nerd who couldn't attract girls. Some people mentally have a hard time getting over that. If that's you, don't be too proud to hook up with some girls that are kind of below your threshold, bro. Listen, man, slump busters, as they may be called, don't be too proud for a slump buster or two. A lot of the time, they're very nice girls.
You might have had a group of friends that like you a certain way, but you're slowly changing to be a way you think is better. And they might be like, dude, you've been fucking different lately, man. You're not the same you, like the same asshole me that eggs cars and smokes blunt during school. No, I want to fucking get an education and be nice to people. And they're like, man, that's fucking lame. Like, those people suck. Fuck them. It's fun to do that until you're 15 or 16, and then the real world shows up. You got to be fucking acting right. So it's totally fine not to be the real you, because the real you is just the outdated older you.
Like I was saying, we're kind of in this odd time frame component here. That said, though, your friend group is going to dictate a lot of what happens to you, especially as a teenager. Man, you could have a lot going for you, and if you're with the wrong crowd, the dudes that are always getting into fights, selling drugs, committing crimes, even if it's just little petty theft, just the dumb crew, dude, your whole life can get turned upside down like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air if you hang with the wrong dudes. I mean, in serious cases, you could be really injured or even die depending on who you hang out with and who they know who they hang out with, you know what I mean? All this collateral stuff. But don't be too proud to leave your friend groups or leave them behind. Those of you that are seriously in the gym right now probably have or are experiencing this. Your friends don't want to go to the gym. They want to sit around and play video games all day. They just want to have pizza and go drink and smoke and all this other stuff. And you're like, well, I got to go to the gym. And you're going to gradually shift away from them. It happens, man. Don't feel obligated to stay in these places where people are not advancing their lives, because a lot of people are like that. Crabs in a bucket. They will keep you down.
It can also mean changing yourself over time, so it's not good long-term advice to be yourself. It might be decent advice in the moment, but not the best long-term advice. In the long term, we want to be better than ourselves. In the short term, you want to be a Swiss Army knife. You are a Swiss Army knife of different expressions of yourself.
I get what he means, but I also don't, because don't be yourself, but pull out these different iterations of yourself. That's still being yourself. It's just being able to kind of use different aspects of who you are. What I think it really comes down to is, can you remove the ego from the equation? And the ego, not just, oh, I'm a hotshot, I'm the greatest guy, whatever. The ego is also the part of you that looks at her as the princess goddess, higher being than you. That's ego. Ego that makes you insecure and shy. You're too scared to express yourself. It's not just like pompous and high and mighty and that type of thing either. We'll have to talk about this one day, maybe. I might start a channel similar to this one that Mike has, because I'm getting pretty tired of talking about fitness. It's just so redundant. How many times can you guys watch videos on how to lift weights and rankings of, oh, the best types of curls?
And with practice, that becomes more and more the default you as you talk to women that you're attracted to. So the first time you ever try this, you might be like eating fucking shit and fucking just like stiff as a brick, and it just all doesn't work right.
That's right. You're going to have to learn through trial and error and experience, man. Or I guess you could just wait to get an AI girlfriend. Those are probably going to be pretty popular. I need to invest in that.
This is insanely politically incorrect advice, but here I go ruining my reputation anyway.
Oh boy.
If you can't get the balls to talk to really hot girls yet, that you want to be talking to, that you see yourself destined to be hooking up with or whatever, start talking to girls that aren't incredibly overwhelmingly attractive first.
Like I just told you guys, man, don't be too proud to go for the slump busters. Listen, guys, there might be some girls you meet off of a dating app or in person. You don't want your friends to see you with her. They might make fun of you. You know, you might want to sneak her through the back door or whatever. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, bro. Okay, you know whenever girls talk about, oh, he's medium ugly, or oh, I showed a picture of him to my friends and I'm like, oh, he's got a good personality. Girls do the same thing. So these conversations, people act like, oh, it's always just the men objectifying the women and stuff. They do it to us just as much. And the best part about this too is all the guys in the comments are going to act like they've never done that. They'll be like, oh, I only hook up with 9s and 10s, bro. You've never actually talked to one or seen one in person, mind you. Oh, I only hook up with the dime pieces, bro. Dude, I see these women walking around in public, carrying babies with strollers. You guys are full of shit.
Everyone can talk to grandma like she's a human being. And then that one bitch that nobody talks to because she looks hideous, unfortunately, people like that do exist. I'm one of them. You can talk to her and run infinite game on that bitch. You have an abundance mentality because you don't even want it. And then after a few weeks of talking to girls like that and really practicing, feeling that fucking swag and moving and grooving, you might have a couple of like, Kyle, I really love you. And you're like, oh shit, which is awesome. You can break her heart in a nice way. Just all part of being a teen.
I mean, that could be part of it too with the slump buster demographic, but just don't lie to them. I mean, dude, a lot of guys will lie to get women regardless. I don't lie to girls. Like, I don't say like, oh, I want to date you and I want to marry you, all this other stuff off the bat. I'll tell them like, hey, you know, we'll see what happens, which that probably hurts me in some aspects, but I'd rather lose a woman up front because of that or lose her relatively quickly than deal with the back end of that, because that back end, if you've been promising her all these things and gassing her up this much, then push comes to shove and you start to have the talk, what are we? What is this? A while down the line, yeah, you might get your car keyed, bro. Or something worse.
Eventually, you can talk to girls that are more and more attractive. You just train up. Like with anything, you can train up to do damn near anything. So you train up, and eventually, whoever you choose to talk to, when you're in that attraction frame, you're just real fucking smooth.
You get to a point as a guy when attractive girls are talking to you. I know some guys think this never happens. Girls don't approach, bro. Yeah, they do. Like I've said, oftentimes it's not going to be direct. They're not going to just walk up to you and be like, hello, sir, how are you? Would you like to go on a date? Like the guys envision it. But they might like your pictures. A lot of girls now will direct message you. That could be another video too. The direct messaging online dating culture now. Might have to make that one as well. But they might stand around you. They might kind of give you signals. I mean, dude, even today I was at the gym. There's this girl that I see there. I've never spoken to her, but like she'll walk past me. I'm thinking out loud now, like, I could totally hit that easily if I wanted to. She'll walk past me, you know, really slow. Like, she'll kind of take routes that she doesn't have to walk near me. And I'll kind of catch her looking at me. Like, I finish up a set, I kind of get up and look, and she's looking at me. And I'll look at her sometimes. Like, she's at that point where, like, I would, you know, I'm not really rushing into it. So in a way, I might be hurting my chances, because if you wait too long, she's going to find another dude. But I'm also kind of, you know, not caring a lot, which also helps in a way. I guess we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated on that.
This kind of shit is real tough advice when you first start talking to attractive girls, but trust me, it gets easier, and practice more of the right shit. You get some shit wrong. You'll be like, dude, I fucked up talking to that girl, man. I started getting nervous halfway through and fucking just looking at her titties. I didn't even know which way was up. Like, no big deal.
You know what's fun, man? This is a mental reframing thing. I've had this thing whenever I was younger. I remember one of the first times I leaned in for a kiss with a girl. Like, we had went on like a so-called date, but she didn't actually like me that much. I kind of thought she did. I couldn't tell. I was younger. But we go back to her place, she's showing me her place, and we're talking, and I go to leave, and I leaned in for the kiss, and she did the typical, like, she kind of backed away a bit and was like, oh, I don't see you that way, whatever, right? And some guys would be devastated by that. Dude, I was so happy because I overcame the fear. Like, I was skipping home. I was like, oh my god, I finally did it. Like, I got over that barrier of being scared to go in for the kiss.
No big deal. You're fucking on to the next. No big deal. There's a trillion fucking hot girls. They literally, every year, there's more of them that turn 18.
Oh, he's using the every year they turn 18 line. Oh boy.
Deal is robots coming soon. It'll be hot at all girls you've ever seen. Abundance is the actual state of the world. Don't you fucking worry about a thing. You get a lot wrong, but just over time, slowly work on getting better and better and better in these kinds of interactions. And eventually you build that into your default mode. Talking to females, you guys think I can fucking lecture off the cuff with a few notes like that? Just fucking, that's just how I was born? Fuck no. This is a very trained skill. I was a professor for a long time at shitload of public speaking. I used to have stage fright. Scott, can you imagine that shit?
Okay, dude, you don't gotta keep bringing in Scott. Another note here too. Check out my video, How to Get Better at Talking to Girls. People in general. I break down some key ways, pretty easy ways actually, that you can overcome your fear of talking. Old video, I probably look really small in that video.
With practice, that becomes more and more the default you, and then maybe you'll actually get to talk to a real girl at some point.
Maybe, probably not. All right, and that is that. Overall, he made some good points, but there were some things there. I mean, you can tell a guy like Mike, I don't think he has the overall experience with women to truly know that. Some of that I think was being parroted. He is a married man now. I wonder if this video is going to get him in trouble. Maybe he'll be sleeping on the couch. But I have a number of dating-related videos on my channel too, so be sure to check those out as well. Maybe we'll call it Rizvival Fitness. Or Revival Rizness. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to send this to a bro, or 2 or 3 or 4, or all of them that need to see it. Stop wasting time in the gym. Get your program and nutrition guide. Stop wasting time in the gym and the kitchen. Looksmaxx as efficiently as possible. Get your program and nutrition guide down below. And the best way to hit me up is on Patreon for one-on-one conversation. I also do coaching if you're interested in that. Fill out the questionnaire and use my links to save money on some great products and services. And I will catch you guys next time.